Once a month, your accountant sends you a set of numbers. There is a profit and loss statement, maybe a balance sheet, and it is full of words like accruals and depreciation and working capital. And you do what almost every owner does. You scroll to the bottom, you look at one figure to see if it is positive. You feel either relieved or worried for about 11 seconds, and you close it. You do not read the rest. Not because you do not care. It is your money and your business, but because the document is written in a language you were never taught and are slightly embarrassed to admit you cannot read. So you run your business on the bank balance instead, which tells you what happened, never why. Today, I want to fix that. Not by sending you on an accounting course, and not by pretending the jargon does not matter, but by using an AI assistant as a translator, one that will explain your own numbers back to you in plain English as many times as it takes, without ever making you feel stupid for asking. One thing before we start. It explains it is not your accountant and it does not sign anything. It explains you decide. The numbers you do not read. Let us name where most owners get stuck and call it level 0. You are not bad with money. You know what things cost. You know when a month felt slow. You can price a job in your head. What you cannot do is read the report because it was written by an accountant, for an accountant, using words nobody ever explained to you. And here is the part nobody says out loud. You will not ask, because asking feels like admitting you do not understand your own business, so you nod on the call and say looks fine. So the report goes unread and you steer by the bank balance, which is the rear view mirror. It tells you money came in. It never tells you that your margin has been sliding for 5 months. That is level 0. Flying on feel because the instruments are in a language you cannot read. Before we open any tool, get clear on what you actually need from your numbers, because an assistant is only as good as the target you hand it. You do not need to become an accountant. You need 4 things. First, what this actually says in plain words. Did we make money? How much? From what? Second, what changed since last month or last year? And more importantly, why it changed, because a number alone is trivia, and a trend is information. Third, what is worth worrying about? The thing that is quietly moving in the wrong direction, while everything else looks fine. And fourth, what to do about it, or at least what question to take back to your accountant. What it says, what changed and why, what to worry about, what to do. Name those 4, and you can brief an assistant to translate exactly that. Give it your numbers and your questions. Here is the first move, and it is simpler than it sounds. Take the report you have been closing without reading and actually give it to the assistant, the profit and loss, this month and the same month last year if you have it, so there is something to compare against. Then add the one thing only you know, the context. That March was slow because of the renovation. That you hired 2 people in June. That one big customer pays late every single time. The numbers alone are a shape with no story, and you are the only one who has the story. And then, most importantly, ask your real questions, the embarrassing ones you have never asked anybody. Why is my profit smaller when my sales are bigger? What is this line even for? Am I actually making money on this? Your report, your context, your real questions, that is the input. Brief the AI like a patient translator. Now the shift that makes this work. You do not paste the report and say analyze this, because you will get a summary in the same language you could not read in the first place, only shorter. Instead, you brief it the way you would brief a patient friend who happens to be an accountant and has no interest in showing off. It sounds like this. Here is my profit and loss for last month and the same month last year. Explain it to me in plain English, as if I have never seen one, no jargon, and where you must use a term like gross margin. Explain it in one line the first time. Tell me what changed and why it might have changed, what I should be worried about, and what questions I should ask my accountant. That brief is the whole secret. You are demanding it speak your language, rather than making yourself learn theirs. The jobs to ask for. Let me give you the specific jobs to ask for every time, because together they turn an unread document into an understood business. 1. Translate it, plain English, no jargon, and define anything technical the first time it appears. 2. Tell you what changed and why, comparing against last month or last year, because the movement is the message. 3. Point at what deserves attention, the line quietly drifting the wrong way that the headline number is hiding. 4. Give you the questions to take to your accountant, so your next call is you asking sharp questions instead of nodding. And 5. Let you ask follow-ups until you actually get it. 3, 4, 5 times. because it will never sigh and it will never make you feel small. Translate it. What changed and why? What to watch? Questions to ask? Explain again. Ask for those 5, and the report stops being wallpaper. One report start to finish. Let me make it concrete with a made-up example. Picture an owner we will call Grace, who runs a small events company. Her sales are up 18% on last year, and she feels good about it. But the bank account is somehow tighter than ever, and she has no idea why, so she has been quietly worried for months. She takes her profit and loss this year and last, gives it to her AI assistant, and asks it to explain in plain English why more sales feels like less money. It walks her through it. Revenue up 18%. Cost of delivering that revenue up 31%. Mostly freelance crew. Her gross margin has fallen from 41% to 33%. It explains what gross margin means in one line. She asked it to explain again differently. It does, without a hint of impatience. Now she can see it. She is growing by selling work she is barely making money on. She takes 2 sharp questions to her accountant. That is level 1. Nodding versus understanding. Now let me name the real difference this makes, because it is not about becoming a numbers person. It is about flying with the instruments on. Level 0 is nodding. The report arrives in a language you cannot read. You check the bottom line for 11 seconds, you say looks fine, and you steer by the bank balance. So a margin sliding for 5 months is invisible until it is a crisis. Level 1 is understanding. The same report goes in and out comes plain English. What it says, what changed, why it changed, what to watch, and the questions to take back, plus the freedom to ask the same thing 5 times until it lands. Your job shrinks from decoding a foreign document to reading an explanation and making a decision. You are still fully in charge. The AI explains what the numbers say. You decide what to do about it. Your judgment stays in charge. This next part is not optional, so I want to be direct. The AI can read the numbers, but it does not know your business, and it is not your accountant. It can only see what you paste, so if you give it 1 month with no context, it will happily construct a confident story about a quiet December that was actually a shutdown, and it will sound authoritative while being completely wrong. It can also make arithmetic slips, so if a figure it states surprises you, check it against the report before you act on it. And this matters. It is not a substitute for professional advice on tax, compliance, or anything you file, so use it to understand, then take real decisions to the professional you pay for exactly that. Think of it as the translator who lets you finally have a proper conversation with your accountant, not as a replacement for them. The AI makes your numbers readable. You hold the judgment about what they mean for your business. A simple way to start. If you want to try this, here is the low-effort way in, and it is smaller than it sounds. Do not try to understand everything. Open the last report your accountant sent, the one you closed after 11 seconds. Give it to an AI assistant and ask one question, the most embarrassing one you have. The thing you have never admitted you do not understand. What does this line actually mean? Why is profit different from what is in my bank? Then ask it to explain again, simpler. Then ask it once more. Nobody is watching, and it will never make you feel stupid. That is the whole experiment. One report, one honest question, ask until you get it. You will feel almost immediately how strange it is that you have run your business for years without being able to read the scoreboard. The honest watchouts. And because I promised no hype, here are the honest watchouts, and please take them seriously. First, it is not your accountant, so for tax, compliance, or anything you sign or file, get professional advice and use this to understand the conversation rather than to replace it. Second, it only knows what you paste, so context-free numbers get confident. Wrong stories, which means you must tell it about the shutdown, the one-off, the late payer. Third, check any figure it states against the source before you act on it, because a plausible explanation built on a misread number is worse than no explanation at all. And fourth, your financials are about as sensitive as it gets, so keep them inside tools you trust and do not paste what you are not comfortable sharing. Use it to finally read your own scoreboard. Keep the decisions and the professional advice in their proper places. Quick recap. Let me pull it together. Level 0 is a monthly report written in a language you were never taught, so you check the bottom line for 11 seconds, say looks fine, and steer by the bank balance while your margin slides unnoticed. Level 1 is handing that same report to an AI assistant with your context and your real questions, and briefing it to translate it into plain English with no jargon, tell you what changed and why, point at what to watch, hand you the questions for your accountant, and explain it again as many times as you need. The 5 asks are translated: what changed and why, what to watch, questions to ask and explain again. Then you sanity check the figures and take the real decisions to a professional. What you get is your own numbers, in your own language at last. If you have ever scrolled to the bottom of your profit and loss, looked at one number and closed it, this is the workflow that turns the report you cannot read into an explanation you can, without ever feeling stupid for asking twice. And we made a free, step-by-step course that walks you from level 0 to level 1 in plain language, no jargon and no technical background needed. It shows you how to get an AI assistant onto your own computer, working with your own reports and files, so you can try this on your real numbers instead of taking my word for it. Head to aifirstexia.com/level1 and take the free course. Do it once, with the last report you closed unread, and ask the question you have never asked anybody. And if you want more of this, practical AI workflows built for SME owners, honest and no hype, then subscribe. Level 1 is right there. Go take the step.